A single breadfruit tree produces hundreds of pounds of fruit each year, requiring very little labor while providing a reliable food source for generations of the same family. This nutritional data shows that breadfruit provides a higher concentration of fiber and complex carbohydrates than either white rice or potatoes, while offering significant amounts of potassium and phosphorus. If the plant is this efficient as a source of nutrition, it raises a question: why isn't it grown in every tropical region on Earth? Understanding its limited reach requires looking at a 3,000-year history of how humans have traded, stolen, and weaponized this specific crop. The journey of the fruit is defined by 3 ways humans have assigned it value: as a tool for sustenance, a commodity of empire, and finally, as a model for agricultural regeneration. Breadfruit originated in New Guinea and the Moluccas. Its wild ancestor, the breadnut, was a seeded plant that indigenous groups harvested in the lowlands. Roughly 3,200 years ago, Lapidus seafarers began migrating eastward into Oceania, carrying the crop into the remote islands of Polynesia. To keep the plants alive during these long ocean voyages, the travelers shifted from seeds to vegetative propagation, carrying living cuttings instead. This continuous human selection eventually altered the plant's biology. It developed a triploid structure, an uneven set of chromosomes that made the new cultivars seedless. The result was the domesticated breadfruit we recognize today, a starchy, high-yield staple with a thick, textured skin. In this ancient Pacific economy, planting these trees was a social requirement, a duty to provide for future generations. By 1769, European explorers like Captain James Cook and botanist Sir Joseph Banks arrived in Tahiti and saw the tree through a different lens. These botanists categorized the plant under the name Artocarpus, stripping away its cultural significance to define it purely as a source of cheap, abundant calories. The British Admiralty saw an economic opportunity. They would transport seedlings to the West Indies to serve as a low-cost food source for enslaved labor on sugar plantations. In 1787, Lieutenant William Bligh set sail on the HMS Bounty, carrying over 1,000 seedlings intended to fuel this colonial labor force. The plan failed when the crew mutinied. They seized the ship and threw the entire botanical cargo overboard. This mutiny ended the expedition, effectively halting the first attempt to turn the fruit into an imperial commodity. Later voyages by the British and French eventually succeeded in bringing the crop to the Caribbean. However, the strategy remained flawed. Enslaved populations rejected the unfamiliar fruit, often feeding the harvests to livestock instead. Attempting to use a complex, culturally rooted plant as a simple monoculture fuel demonstrated a failure to understand how the crop actually functions. For the next 2 centuries, breadfruit was largely sidelined by global industrial agriculture in favor of grain commodities like wheat and corn. Today, that reliance on imports has left regions like Hawaiʻi vulnerable to supply chain disruptions and climate instability. To address this, growers are returning to regenerative agroforestry, a model based on the ancient Pacific practice of multi-story planting. In these systems, breadfruit is planted alongside diverse crops to protect the soil, prevent erosion, and maintain productivity without the use of chemical fertilizers. By mimicking the ancient design of Pacific forests, modern growers are finding ways to sustain long-term yields while restoring degraded land. Expanding this model into the modern economy requires more than just traditional knowledge. It requires financial backing. The Hawaiʻi ʻUlu Cooperative, led by CEO Dana Shapiro, recently worked with the state's Department of Agriculture to secure loan guarantees for their farmers. The cooperative uses a triple bottom-line model, which aims to balance economic viability with social and environmental benefits for the community. This local supply chain processes the fruit into modern products like gluten-free flours and dips, moving the crop beyond subsistence and into the commercial market. The evolution of breadfruit, from an indigenous resource to a colonial tool and back to a community-led cooperative, shows how ancient Pacific models are being adapted to meet today's environmental and economic challenges.